and welcome to Connected, episode 224, our 2018 year in review. It is made possible by our sponsors, Pingdom, Smile, and Kane 11. I'm your host, Stephen Hackett, and I'm joined by Mike Hurley.
Happy holidays.
Hey, it's Boxing Day where you are as we release this.
Yep, I'm sitting in a box, as the tradition would dictate.
You sit in the box? Is that the tradition?
That's how it goes. Yeah, everyone gets their own personal box on Boxing Day.
Yeah. Well, okay. And Federico Viticci. Hi.
Hello, hi, happy holidays. It's good to be here. How are you, Stephen?
I'm good. It's the end of the year. There's just a few days left, and we have this tradition on Connected to look back over the previous 12 months of news and stories, things we talked about, and sort of revisit them and see what was a big deal, what wasn't a big deal, what rumors ended up being true, which is like my theme for 2018. The rumor mill was just really bonkers this year. But before we do that, we have very important business.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important business.
Because we're going to fight.
We should do...
Wait, no, we're going to fight. We're going to fight again. So
Okay.
There's no
I
fighting.
think there is.
I don't see why. Why?
Based upon the rules that you put into place last year,
Okay.
the no half points rule.
We have our annual predictions. And these are the rules we put forth about a year ago. 2 points for correct picks in the risky pick round. If your risky pick is wrong, you lose a point, is where it gets interesting. The other two hosts must agree your pick is risky, which I guess we did a year ago. And there are no half points. So that is where I think we could get into some debate.
I forgot about the risky points rule, which is probably that's why. Okay, cool. Then this is clean cut. This is clean cut.
That's why.
All right, cool. Wait, we need to do some adjudicating as we go through this, but I think we're probably good. I forgot about the risky picks rule.
Yeah, Mike, are you where you could keep score for us?
Yeah.
You got a pen and paper there?
You know I've got a pen and paper.
Round one, I'm going to read our predictions and then we can discuss the outcomes. So in round one, I predicted the Mac Pro would ship by the end of the year after teasing at WWDC. Michael said there will be a bigger iPhone X style phone, but it will not have an OLED screen. Federico said, there's a lot of this, iOS 12 will have a focus on, quote, faster, speed and performance optimizations being a tentpole feature. It will be on a slide.
Please appreciate all these points.
I still can't believe you got a point out of this because you picked so many things like a madman.
So many things.
All of them are correct.
You're a madman.
To counter the narrative around iOS 11, and then he has some examples. Faster animations, maybe 64-bit, Swift, ProMotion, something under the scenes, maybe a built-in cache cleanup feature. So some of those details are sort of hand-wavy, but I think it's pretty clear that Federico gets a point for iOS 12 having a focus on being faster.
Very clear.
They preached that good news at WWDC.
So I have a point I would like to bring to the group. So
Yes.
I said there will be a bigger iPhone X style phone, but it will not have an OLED screen. Now, at the time, we were thinking Max, but doesn't the XR fit that exact prediction?
I think it does. I think you get a point as well.
Because iPhone X styled phone will not have an OLED screen. Now, it's like, I know that at the time, we didn't think that the XR would exist, right? But by like just the way that we wrote the prediction down, I think it counts.
Yeah. I think it does too. Because you don't say that the only bigger iPhone X style phone would be LCD. You say there will be a one, and that
this counts. Yeah,
that's
to
cool.
the language. You are correct.
So I'm pleased that I've at least scored this year. It's like this might be the first time I've ever scored a point.
Scored something.
You always get too specific, which we'll see.
I personally consider myself
in
the
the
winner now. I have the moral victory
what
here.
A rush, huh? Having a point. How
I
does
feel
it
so
feel,
good.
Mike?
The power I have right now.
I did not get a point. I will tell you though, this will be my first pick for 2019. This exact phrase, but there's no Mac Pro this year, so I do not get a point.
Are we going to do this on our next episode?
Yeah, we do at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
Oh, I gotta start
We have
thinking.
to.
I have no ideas right now.
You can't come into this
We
off
are
the top of your head. It goes
No.
poorly.
We are under listener contractual obligation to do this.
Yeah.
So
Who signed that
Round
contract?
2, Michael said Apple Watch with an always-on display.
I feel like we were all cheated by losing this point, personally.
The whole world, every Apple Watch user was cheated by you losing this
Cannot
point.
believe that this is still not a thing on the Apple Watch. It boggles my mind.
Federico said a streaming service announces Apple Video 1 to 2 months for free, bundled with Apple Music as an option. Too bad.
I remember at the time telling you that was a wild prediction because they hadn't even started shooting the TV shows.
That, I think, is another one that could be totally reasonable in 2019, by the way.
That is like, that's probably going to be one of my first picks. So we're all going to have to run for that one.
And I make it onto the board. Still no new iPad mini. And I had a parenthetical, if it's killed, I'm not wrong. The iPad mini 4 is, as it ever was, still for sale. So, right now we are tied. Mike, you have one. Federico, you have one. I have one.
Wait, who's keeping the scores here?
Well, I mean, they're in green and red now, so I could see them. But I'll let you do the final thing. Okay, risky picks. So again, if you are correct, you get 2 points. If you are wrong, you lose a point from your total. And we already previously agreed that these were all risky picks, so there's not any debate about that. Federico, Workflow 2 will appear as a system, feature, or app. Heavy on Siri integration, framework for pro apps to talk to each other. And then you had 2 non-graded things, I'll just say, just for clarity. There'll probably be a migration tool, I guess, from Workflow to Workflow 2, or now we know is the shortcuts.
Which there was.
The App Store version might be kept around for a while. It's only an App Store version. So
it's only one version, so that was wrong.
You should have kept your not graded things in there, to be honest. Because this is the thing. Framework for pro apps to talk to each other. I don't know about that one.
That's not deep. That's not there, but I think overall, like...
But we don't do half points around here, though. So this is where it gets awkward.
If you look at the entire prediction, Workflow 2 will appear as a system feature app, heavy on Siri integration. Like,
so why does not graded even exist then? That everything you said had to be graded.
I don't know why we did the not graded, but I don't know.
Because the point was, because we had this in the past, of everyone getting way too specific, and if you were more specific and you didn't hit all your specific points, you didn't get the point. Like, that was the reason for the not graded. And why we thought you were wild.
I don't know, but we decided that it was...
Yeah.
I don't know why, but at the time we decided that it was not graded. So
I think we give it to him.
Yeah, all right, we can give it to him, but we have to put this rule into place, because this is a rule that I know exists, which is everything that is written down has to be true for the point to be given. I think, yes, sure, we could let it slide this time, but I think that all of us get 0 points, because TG doesn't get a half point, but I'll let it go. But
I mean, but let's compare this one to your risky picks. I say Workflow 2. You say, Steven says iTunes rewrite or replacement for macOS. Mike says iOS 12 features a large-scale UI redesign across iOS, the biggest since iOS 7.
We thought that might happen, right? Like, I might just be 1 year off.
Yeah, Ryanto Bloomberg said it wasn't happening.
See, but your risky picks are completely
yes, they are completely wrong.
Mine is only partially incorrect for one detail.
But we don't do half points. No half points.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't think you can compare risky picks to each other. I feel like they just exist as their own item.
Riskiness.
But I think you get it. Even though like the framework for pro apps, like I think I know what you were saying then, but I kind of also think that like the Siri shortcuts, that's not pro apps talking to each other, but it's pro apps talking to the system. Like I think we give it to him.
I think it is close enough to correct, right? That I agree.
If you want to be super nitpicky, you could argue that Siri shortcuts as a framework and the clipboard as a way for apps to talk to each other kind of counts.
The clipboard is not a framework. The clipboard is not a framework.
It actually is. It actually is. It actually is. But I mean, it is partially incorrect. This point.
All right. You know what? Kate has actually adjudicated this. Risky picks are worth 2 points, so you get 1 point.
But that's a half grading.
I think that works fine. Yeah, but whatever. Look, we're all trying to find ways to let Federico win this at this point, aren't we? So we'll just say it's close enough.
It's the holidays. Give him the 2 points. Federico wins. So
Federico gets 3 points.
I am not surprised that I won
Take
again.
the point away from him. Take the point away from him. This is why he doesn't deserve the point.
Thank you, connected listeners, for
This is why he cannot be
supporting.
humble in his victory. He has to now be like,
Thank you, collected
I am the
listeners,
king of all predictions.
for supporting the rightful winner of these predictions. See you again next year.
I knew we shouldn't
Okay.
let him win.
Well, hey, look, we can bring everybody down with round 4,
Extra
which were
picks.
our
Oh my
extra
God.
picks that were not graded. These are just things that we put out there.
That we just said.
So let's just blow Federico out of the water. Federico said 2 things. Apple Video and Apple Music have dedicated apps for Mac and iOS. Music and video removed from iTunes on the Mac. He also said, this is my favorite, reminders will get a major redesign modeled after iOS 11 and Files,
You
new
wish, buddy.
family sharing features, and integration with the HomePod.
Oh boy, that's so
When
bad.
was reminders last updated, Federico?
iOS 7, 5 years ago.
Oh boy. Not that we're any better.
Well,
Not that we're any better. I said
You were close.
AppKit and UIKit give birth to something new and cross-platform, like Gurman said. It's not really true because these apps from Mojave are just basically UIKit apps with a little shim to make them work on the Mac. I also said an iPod Touch update, so maybe I'm the biggest loser here.
That was the wildest thing. I can't believe you said
Just
that.
going crazy at the
that
end.
should have been a risky pick. That one.
If I'd gotten that right, I would have won it for all time. Mike, you said a new Apple Pencil with a button of some kind, with aluminum with a question mark after it. You got a
Sounds
new
close.
pencil. There's the
Sounds
tapping
close.
thing. It's kind of the same spirit, but it doesn't count because there are no points. Federico wanted a new smart keyboard. I don't know if you knew this. Federico doesn't really like the smart keyboard. He suggested a new material, backlit keys, and a dedicated Siri key. You got none of those things.
Well, I got a new smart keyboard, which is the Smart Keyboard Folio, with a new material, but it was not what I was expecting. The new material is the texture for the case. Well,
Yeah.
this is so sad,
sad.
to look at this
And then
pic.
Mike also had something. Mike, it's interesting. You had a couple that Bloomberg sort of shot down early on. On iOS 12, the iPad home screen features more than just app icons.
So really, I should blame Federici for my loss.
Sure.
Right.
But then Federico wouldn't have gotten speed. So, like, it's a give and take around here.
Well, that's it though, right? That just helps me win more. So I blame Craig Federici for me losing this year.
You should just
I
blame
don't. I
yourself
blame him.
for bad picks.
No, they were good picks.
Bad
These are all
picks.
things that are going to happen. I was just wrong by maybe 1 year. That's what's so upsetting about all of this.
That's not how it works. Well, so you're going to just repeat the same picks for 2019?
Look, I'm not going to say that it is impossible that I would do that. All right? Just, you know, maybe I will do that.
Copy and paste them right out of here.
I am, as we speak, copying and pasting into
Okay.
my notes
Okay,
document.
good luck.
What
Good
is
luck,
this?
okay.
What is this good luck from you? You know, here's the thing, right? You keep playing it like this, everyone's going to want you to lose. You know that, right? You're going to turn everyone against you. Is that what you want?
There's enough people who
Oh
love
my
me
God.
that I feel their support
Oh my God.
and encouragement to keep producing amazing predictions.
See what you all do to him? Turn him into a monster. He's a monster.
I'm a monster at winning picks. That's what I am.
I quit.
No, you have to read the sponsor first.
No, I've quit. Today's episode is brought to you by Pingdom, the company who make website performance monitoring really, really easy. If you've been listening to this show and you're enthralled by our content, how would you know if your website had gone down? Would you know if customers couldn't access your content or click the buy now button that you want them to? You need to know that everything's running smoothly on your site, and more importantly, when it's not, and that's why you need Pingdom. Pingdom will let you know the moment your site goes down in whatever way is best for you, and they can also get the information needed to exactly who needs to solve that issue. It will be sent directly to them, whether it's one person or your whole team. It's very customizable. Pingdom are dedicated to making the web faster and more reliable for everybody that wants to use it. They have more than 70 global test servers that emulate visits to your site, checking its availability as often as every minute. And if something goes wrong, they will let you know ASAP. All Pingdom needs is the URL that you want to be monitored, and then they'll take care of the rest. Don't risk being the last to know about something on your website breaking. Start monitoring your site today by going to pingdom.com/relayfm and signing up for a 14-day free trial with no credit card required. Then when you sign up, use the code CONNECTED at checkout to get an awesome 30% off your first invoice. Our thanks to Pingdom for their support of this show and Relay FM. So, the year in review time, we will go throughout the year talking about primarily, I think, the things that we spoke about and we were focusing on the most in the show. How are we going to do this? Who's going to read them all? I feel like it's Steven's year, right? As the host.
As the resident historian of
That's a good
the Apple
point.
community.
Yeah, this is just more history. It's just more recent than you normally do, but...
Yeah.
It's true. Ask me about these things again in 10 years, please.
Okay.
You will know them,
that's no
so
problem.
won't be surprised. Yeah.
So this really began at the end of 2017. Remember all this? The iPhone battery gate. Apple is throttling your phone because it would shut down otherwise, and people were mad the battery replacements are so expensive. And Apple announced at the very end of the year that for all of 2018, for a bunch of iPhones, you could do a $29 battery replacement. And people were mostly excited. I think some people thought this should be free, which is sort of silly. But $29, you get a battery put in your old phone. I don't know about y'all. I have sent a ton of people to the Apple Store this year to do that, including like my own parents and family members as recently as this week. Remind them, hey, this ends at the end of the year. And then the year the price is going to go back up. Do you guys think people will be upset about that?
I had completely forgotten about this, and now I kind of regret it because I should have told my mom to get a new battery, and now she will not be able to come to the Apple Store because there's a holiday.
It's just sitting there in silent
oh
regret.
my God. She's gonna be so upset if she finds out.
You've let her down. You're a bad son.
I'm a bad son.
Between this and the pranks you play on her.
Yeah. Is this just another prank?
No, I haven't actually pulled any
You
pranks.
pranked her out of $30. Way to go.
I'm planning something for Christmas. I still haven't decided what I want to do.
What do you mean?
So
like
we'll
you're
see.
planning something? What does that mean?
Yes, that's what I said. I want to do something that is fun.
Who's it fun for?
Me, mostly, and the people who participate in the prank.
Oh, you're gonna have
except
people
for my mom. Yeah, usually Sylvia, she just plays along. Because she's also terrible like me. Yeah, I feel bad. This is ending on the end of the year,
Yeah,
right?
the fee, thanks to Benjamin Mayo in the chat, the fee will become $49 for all products except the iPhone 10, which will change to $69, which is a nice price for a battery change, I think.
And it ends on Boxing Day instead of December 31st. Oh, man. Well, that battery is gone. I'm not getting a new battery.
But it's not expensive to change anymore. $49 instead of $79.
Yeah. You could just apologize and hand her $30 and or you could take care of it for her. Say, hey, I'm going to borrow your phone for the afternoon and go do it as an apology.
Thinks she's going to get a prank, but in fact, you're actually just going to fix her phone for her.
You come back with a Motorola Droid. It's a terrible prank.
Well, you did that once.
I used a Droid for a long time. Yeah. I've got it over here somewhere. Mm-hmm. Up next, Transmit for iOS is discontinued, showing the end of Pro app development on the iPad. Pack it up.
I'm so sad that this happened. I'm still using File Browser on iOS. I mean, it's functional. It does its job well. And you could use a bunch of other apps. I know people use Documents for FTP access and that kind of stuff. I prefer File Browser because of some advanced features that I like shortcuts, or like you can add specific folders for a remote location to your home screen as an icon, which is nice. But I still miss the UI and the polish of Transmit, and I so wish that Panic, like I would subscribe to Transmit. This is one of those apps, especially now that I have a Mac Mini, so I connect to a bunch of folders that I use on my Mac Mini. Like I would pay, I don't know, a $10 subscription a year for Transmit. You know, that kind of utility I would pay for. But I guess they're focused on Coda now. I think it's the only iOS app they still maintain. Oh no, and Prompt, which I also use, which is not a podcast, it's an app. There should be a podcast called Prompt. Oh, that's a good name. But yeah, it's a sad announcement. I wish they would actually backtrack on this decision, but I guess it's not happening.
I'm still using it. It still works. I sort of assume that will not be true forever, and then I'll deal with it then. But I use it actually a fair amount for uploading shows to our host. It's very handy. Up next, we have Apple previews iOS 11.3. If you don't remember, the features included new Animoji and ARKit 1.5. Tell me how much this has changed the way y'all work on your iPads and iPhones.
This has complete ARKit 1.5 has allowed me to use the iPad as my primary computer. Yes, because now I basically the way that I work is I hold the iPad and I project a 3D graphic of a Macintosh on my table. and I touch that graphic with my hands.
You can't do real AR on a Mac, right?
You cannot do real AR on a Mac, which is why I'm using the iPad as my primary AR computer projector. Yes, totally game changer. No, seriously though, are you guys still using Animoji?
Little.
I know Mike is. He sends an Animoji every once in a while.
I'm still, as predicted at the time when Memoji came out, I still use Bitmoji more because of like the little scenes that Bitmoji will put your character
And there are
into.
those Bitmojis that you send us all the time, like the Savage Mike Bitmoji. Like those have become institutions of our private conversations.
Everybody wants to get the Savage one every now and then because that's when they are commended for their savagery, you know? Everyone wants to be savage.
That's perfect.
I use it, but like, you know, it's not a ton. This is one of those things I expect that like slowly over time they just keep making better and better. You know, like I'm intrigued to see what they do to Memoji like over the next year because it feels like something that probably does help sell the phones. Even because people, whether they will or they won't use them, they might think that they'll use them, and they're kind of like a cute thing, and it's like a demo thing. You know, I reckon kids love it. You know, like it's a cool feature. It is not a groundbreaking feature, but it's still fun.
I just realized I cut my hair and I need to update mine because my little guy still has long hair. I should get on that.
It's a very important task. Why is the next item in our list?
Because at the heart of Connected, you may think we cover Apple and related services and technologies, but really,
we just do that as filler until the next news comes up about this service.
Yeah, BlaBlaCar, our true calling as journalists,
BlaBlaCar
had some changes in its business 11 months ago, and I'm skimming this TechCrunch article, and I don't remember what they did, but they did something.
No, see, this is the thing. This is like the end of our coverage for BlaBlaCar because they took away the blobby guy.
Oh, that's right. They did the rebranding.
No.
So like it's not interesting to us anymore because the BlaBlaCar mascot is gone. So
the Blabla monster is gone? Oh, no.
I'm watching their rebranding video, and there's people with tiny heads in it.
Yeah, because this was part of the whole wonder of everything. It converged. Tiny heads will make an appearance later on. But, you know.
Did you know that BlaBlaCar is the world-leading long-distance carpooling platform? And that it's a trusted community marketplace that connects car drivers with empty seats to passengers looking for a ride?
It's super interesting to me that you can just roll this information just out from your brain.
Did you know that they have 60 million members in 22 countries and over 18 million travelers every quarter? I mean, it's a impressive company.
I think I want a seatbelt attaching me to my empty seat, just personally. I don't want an app to do that. I want a seatbelt.
Do you play the cricket sound effect for your own jokes, or is it just for mine?
It's just for yours. It's weird. I try to put them in Logic after my joke, and it crashes every time.
The founder and president of BlaBlaCar, his name is Frederick. So I guess that's a sign.
Frederick Viticho.
Frederick Mazzella. Sounds kind of Italian. Yeah, Frederick carries BlaBlaCar's vision of a people-powered travel network.
It's true.
I mean, we're all about the people-powered.
You would really hope that he personally would carry the vision of the company that he's the CEO for, right?
The founder and president, not even a CEO. He's a president.
I mean, yeah, they hired an adult to be CEO.
Oh, really? Did they?
Yes, he's the president.
That happens a lot, though.
All right. The next story, I think, is perhaps the most interesting for me in January. rumors of the iPhone XR began. And so this is the beginning of what will be a multi-month story of this bigger LCD phone, but it has a notch and it's aluminum and not stainless steel. Like even in these early reports, Ming-Chi Kuo had this iPhone XR just locked down, it seems like.
I mean, this is going to come up a lot throughout this episode, I think, but Kuo has just... he gets a lot right. Like, a lot right. And it's sometimes is very... like, the things he tends to get more right is when there's some kind of supply chain stuff, right? Like, that's where he kind of... his information tends to live. But... I mean, there's a reason so many people pay attention to what Kuo has to say, I think.
I mean, this was like at the time I remember the reaction, like the confusion of, oh, Apple is making an LCD phone without 3D touch. What does that mean for 3D touch? They're never going to do this. And like, I think we realized that, I don't know if Apple is slowly walking back from 3D touch, but I think it's pretty obvious that they don't necessarily consider it to be a deal breaker at this point. So they just wanted to make a phone with LCD without 3D touch. They just made one and whatever. I think looking back, this is one of those rumors that at the time people were losing their minds over. But now in hindsight, it kind of, I mean, it makes the most sense of all the rumors that I think we have here.
Yeah, I just remember there being so much debate about like what this would mean for the, you know, like the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. Would this be the 9? Like all the marketing stuff it's rarely present in these rumors because that's really internal to Apple and sometimes decided like really late in the game. But as Apple gets bigger and they make more of these things, like people just know about what's coming hardware wise, at least. And it's sort of up to the rest of the world to sort of fill the story in around it till Apple makes it all clear. It's always interesting. And it started really early last year. I mean, this was January 23rd. It's early on in the cycle. We also had the first reports that began to sink Mike's pick boat of iOS 12 features being shuffled off into the future for a focus on performance. Another rumor that seemed like it held up over time.
Yeah, this was, I think the rumor said that this came from like a meeting that Apple had internally and like a bunch of engineers participated in this meeting. This is I feel like in regard to software, this is sort of the rumor that shaped the narrative for Apple going into WWDC, what they were going to show for iOS 12. And it's pretty incredible that since basically 6 months before, we had sort of a rough outline of what to expect for iOS 12. There were a bunch of surprises, of course, but I think once again, Gurman had this information correct. And there are always people on Twitter that do not necessarily believe what Gurman reports or that sort of accuse Gurman of being too, not sharing too many details. But I think in hindsight, looking back at all the reports from Gurman, I think it tends to be very correct, even though sometimes he doesn't exactly get the specifics right, or rather, sometimes he doesn't share the specifics too many months before, if that makes sense. But the rough outline of what he's saying tends to be coming true all the time. So Gurman and Kuo, I guess, are the winners of the year, if you will.
And it brings us to February. Right out of the gate, we had a big, dramatic news story. Apple was going around stripping emoji out of apps, banning people from the App Store because they used a single emoji in their UI. People were freaking out. What happened here, Mike?
Well, it was like there was a couple of applications that were being rejected, and as far as we could see, it was they were being rejected for using emoji. And this was around a time where a lot of large applications, apps like WhatsApp and stuff, had started to redesign their emoji because they'd previously just been scraping Apple's emoji even on other platforms. And so there was a lot of like, what is actually happening here? And basically, it turned out that some apps were being rejected for using emoji as images rather than as text, right? That was kind of one part of it. But then it ended up kind of looking like there were some wild app reviewers who were just rejecting things left and right. And it mostly seemed to have got sorted out. Like the applications that were originally getting rejected ended up getting through again. It seemed to be one of those many situations where something weird happens at app review and nobody can understand why it's happening, and then it gains a bit of traction and then just gets fixed and taken care of.
I did not remember this at all. I don't know why. I think I know why I wasn't paying attention, because I was working on a story that like in February I was mostly busy writing a couple of the in-depth stories for the next month, I think. So this completely like flew past me. I had almost no recollection of this entire saga. So I guess now developers can use emoji as fonts, as long as they don't actually embed the images, which I think is fine. It was a weird controversy, like one of those things that I completely removed from memory.
Yeah, I think where that ended up is fair. I mean, like so many of these things, it was just awkwardly handled. Like the App Store review team seems to start doing stuff and people don't know why, and the app has to like backfill with a message, and they could always do better at that. But I feel like that where it finally settled, you can use the font, but the images are ours. Don't embed them. Definitely don't put them in another platform. That I think is pretty within Apple's right and pretty reasonable from my point of view. February saw the launch of the HomePod. Remember that thing? It was
that was delayed.
It was. Yep. It missed the holiday. Showed up in early February, as did the Tiny Head T, perhaps the best connected T-shirt we've ever done. It was a real exciting time with tiny heads and giant speakers, but the HomePod was incomplete, wasn't it? There was something missing.
AirPlay 2 was delayed. It came out eventually with iOS 11.4 just before WWDC, sometime in May. And I remember February because I asked our common friend John Voorhees to get me a HomePod in America and ship it to me with very expensive overnight shipping with FedEx or DHL maybe. It turned out to be very expensive with a lot of taxes for Italian customs. But that was my first HomePod. Then shortly after getting the first US one, I got a second one from a guy on eBay. Like this random person, an Italian person on eBay. I think it did what I did. He bought a HomePod from the United States and put it up for sale on eBay, Italy. And I also bought that one. And the third one came later at WWDC. I bought one with you guys. I think it was at the Apple Park retail store. And I came back to Italy with a third HomePod, which I placed in the bedroom. And I wanted to see how long it would take Sylvia to notice the new HomePod. And spoiler...
Just another one of those teachy pranks.
Spoiler alert, just like the new iPad Pro that I bought last week, it didn't take her long.
She's got her eye on you, man. She knows what you're up to.
She noticed the 11-inch iPad Pro, which I guess we'll discuss in the next episode, maybe. She noticed the new iPad Pro the next day, and she noticed the HomePod also the next day. So she notices things. I cannot hide from her. Yeah.
If memory serves, we were all a little bit skeptical about the HomePod as to whether it was actually going to be something that we would like. Like, I think that there was a lot of like, we're going to get one. I don't know. And now we all have multiple ones.
And you especially, Mike, you were skeptical of the HomePod.
I was very skeptical. Yeah, I said I wasn't going to buy one, and then I bought one. So I was maybe the most skeptical. But that's probably why I only have two, and you two have three. For skepticism at work.
Do we know, like, are there things that we think Apple is going to add to the HomePod, like, before WWDC? Do we think there's anything they should do before, like, the next major version of the software?
I don't really have any feature requests for the HomePod, to be honest, to be quite honest.
It feels like all that I want is for Apple to follow sort of like an Amazon Echo model of like you can enable a bunch of things and you don't need to have your iPhone with the app installed. I don't know if they're ever gonna do this.
Well, yeah, I would like that, like skills. Yeah.
That and multi-user support. Even if it can't detect your voice, if you go to it and say, add this to Steven's reminder list, add this to Mary's reminder list, like just some awareness that most people live with other people. What a concept.
Yeah.
All
Imagine
right.
that.
What else do we have in February? We have
The first rumors of over-ear headphones from Apple. HeadPods. HeadPods. I would really like these because I would like some either USB-C or Bluetooth over-ear headphones. I'm still using the B&O H6 with now a dongle attached to them for when I travel. But I'm kind of like refusing to buy any right now in the hopes that like Apple will make something amazing, like AirPods level of amazing. But I have no idea when that would even exist, like a product like that. But I'm kind of holding out.
I'm still
for now.
very much waiting for this. I do have over-ear USB-C headphones from Sony, the MHX 1003 something, and they're amazing. But I also want Apple to make their own with maybe USB-C, but mostly the W1 chip for like longer battery, better performance, that kind of stuff. So I hope this is one of the 2019 products, but I'm kind of skeptical because we haven't heard anything else about this rumor. I think there are no more details. It's sort of one of those rumors that just disappeared a few months ago, and we don't know what's going to happen. Steven, the next item in March, this is a very... why are we talking about this? Why did you decide, of all news, why this one specifically?
Mike put this in here.
I put it in there because it's one of those ones that everyone will have forgotten about, and I think it's too fun to not mention again. In March, there was a news report that Apple employees kept walking into the doors, the new glass doors at Apple Park, and that there were many 911 calls. So for anybody who forgot or didn't see this article is so wonderful to read, I think, that it's worth looking back again. Just reading the transcripts between the security people and the 911 dispatchers. They're just wild things to read. Like,
we had an individual who ran into a glass wall pane and they hit their head. They have a small cut on their head and they're bleeding, slightly disoriented. We have on-site security with them right now. Are you with the patient now? No, I am not with the patient. We are trying to have a secure... Oh my God. This is... is he awake? He is conscious. Is he breathing? That we do not know. Yes, he's conscious and breathing. Oh my God.
You see, they're great. So if you've not read these, you should just read them. Like they're very, very good.
Oh my God.
They're very fun to read, and luckily, it seems like nobody was badly hurt.
Except the guy quit breathing.
Why are they talking like they're talking about apps? Like dispatcher, is he completely alert? Caller, unknown at this time. We're still waiting for an update. What? He's a person. Oh my God. Okay. Well, have they fixed this problem? Do we know if they fixed this problem with maybe with stickers?
Wasn't there a report somewhere that they were putting like iHeight stickers on some of the doors?
They were putting just all the black Apple stickers they made for the Mac Pro. They got those back from the factory and just put those everywhere.
Okay.
Face ID iPad rumored to debut in June. We were worried they were going to put a notch on the iPad.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the notch on the iPad.
It still seemed like they were going to put it. Actually, seemed like they're more likely to put a notch on the iPad after WWDC, right? Because they split the status bar up.
Yeah.
So it still seemed possible. Honestly, we were still wondering if it was going to be a notch up until they showed it.
But also, it didn't come out in June, and we were expecting. I remember we were expecting, like we were talking, are there going to be new iPads in June? And then we were very sad when they didn't show any iPads.
It didn't happen in September either. Yeah. It was very sad in September, right? Like might be more sad in September.
Welcome to being a Mac user, guys.
Yep.
There was also a lot of talk about what orientation this thing could be in, right? Because the iPhone's locked to portrait orientation, but as we know now, the iPad is effectively agnostic about which way you hold it for Face ID to work, as long as the camera's not hidden or you're not like at too an extreme of an angle. And I don't know about y'all, but like I the only time I ever have trouble with Face ID on my iPad is if my hand's over it, if something silly like that. But it works really well.
Yeah, I'm still remain very happy with it.
March also marked the beginning of a multi-month story about a cheaper MacBook Air. Again, we have friend of the show, Ming-Chi Kuo, talking about a affordable MacBook Air that would be in Q2. That, again, also didn't happen. It was basically the end of the year. But there been so much
affordable, right?
And not more affordable.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, it's still too expensive.
There was a new MacBook Air. This product that was being spoken about here in this rumor did not come to pass.
Mm-mm.
They didn't exist.
No, I don't think so. Part of me still has hope that out there on the horizon there is $1,000 Apple notebook, but the MacBook Air is not that machine, at least what we know of it today. So, but this rumor came in the midst of a lot of conversation about what's going on at the low end of Apple's notebook line, and frankly, Apple hasn't done much to solve that. In some ways, they've made it worse with an additional machine at $1,200.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Apple acquired Texture this month as well, which is the magazine app, sort of all-you-can-eat magazine. You pay a subscription, you can read a bunch of stuff. I've never actually used Texture. I don't know if either of y'all have, but it's a thing. Apple owns it. It's still on the App Store. It's $5 a month. It really seems like at any point that's just going to get pulled into Apple News to me.
There was a Bloomberg report like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, was there? Talking about
saying that it will be. Yeah. That Apple's going to be rolling it into Apple News, and they're currently struggling with getting some of the larger companies on board, because at $5 a month, how can you convince the New York Times that this is going to be cost effective for them compared to what they can get people to pay on their own?
What was there was an app or service like this years ago for like indie web publishers?
Readability, man.
Yeah, that's all this is. It's Readability 2.0.
Yeah, they said they used to send you a check. They sent you a check to your commissions. I got one.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants. Check, paper checks, please. In Europe, we love them.
Yeah, I bet this is gonna be one of the things of 2019, like one of the announcements of 2019. This expansion of Apple Music to magazines with like a new subscription model. This is going to be part of the narrative in 2019, and it could go alongside the new Apple Video service, which seems like it's going to launch in 2019 at some point. So I'm curious to see what they do from a technical perspective. Will you read actual scans of magazines in Apple News? That seems inelegant. So I want to see. Then again, will they convince all these publishers to turn their magazines into like actual HTML content customized for Apple News? I don't know.
I think that's what it's going to be. It'll be the content from the magazines, not like the old-timey magazine pages scanned in.
It's like getting past the New York Times or Financial Times' paywalls in Apple News, right? Yeah. That's probably what they're trying to build here.
I think that's exactly right. So, that's it was a very public thing. It was on Apple's newsroom, for crying out loud. A lot of times they acquire companies and you just sort of hear whispers, but they were very upfront about their purchase, and I think we are going to hear a lot more about it next year.
Yeah. Allow me to surprise you all by reminding you that there was an Apple event in March.
Yeah, the one at the high school,
the education event. Yep, where they spoke about education, where it was basically nothing new, but they were just focusing on it, and they unveiled the now $329 iPad, the 6th generation iPad, with the Logitech Crayon, which is the Logitech branded third-party product that works like an Apple Pencil, but has specific technology in it that means it can just work still with that 6th generation iPad.
I have one of these iPads that I bought for some doing like reading and watching video. It's a good iPad, but I cannot use it anymore because I cannot stand the bezels and the home button anymore. Which is why I got an 11-inch iPad Pro. But we'll talk about that. I think it was it's not an exciting event, but it was a bunch of old information, especially about the education features. But it was in Chicago, I think. Was that in Chicago? And John was very excited about the fact that it was in Chicago. And also Apple did a bunch of things at the Chicago Apple Store.
Which had just opened, if memory serves.
Yeah, and I think John was interviewed by the local television network. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Mostly boring event, unless you're a teacher. And even then, teachers have some thoughts. I hear from Fraser that, most of the stuff they talked about was kind of old. So
the iPad, I think, is a great value for what you get. I mean, in all of Apple's lineup, it's probably the best value of any hardware they sell.
The next item I had completely forgotten about until a few weeks ago.
Me too.
Well, but even then, though, right? So, do you want to say what it is?
In March, Foxconn acquired Belkin, and therefore also Linksys and the Wemo brands.
Because we were talking about this as one of them. Like, I think this came up, I don't remember how, but we were saying, do you remember when Foxconn bought Belkin? But I completely forgot that also included Linksys
this is exactly,
and Wemo.
When I remembered this, I had the same reaction that I had last year when I remembered that Mozilla now owns Pocket. I had completely removed that piece of information. And when I remembered that, I had the same reaction. So... yeah, they acquired Belkin, which is Belkin continues to be one of those accessory makers that Apple sort of collaborates with. For example, like Logitech, for instance. In this case, Belkin is making a bunch of like the wireless charging dock for the iPhone and Apple Watch, and the HDMI, USB-C to HDMI adapter with support for 4K and HDR, which are only available on the Apple Store. So it's continues to be, I guess it's not surprising because it's Foxconn and they make iPhones, so they have a relationship, but it continues to be one of the brands that sort of do the only at Apple type of deals for accessories.
That brings us to April, which started off with a real exciting article on the 2nd. Bloomberg reporting that Apple will switch to ARM in its Macs in 2020, leaving Intel behind, going to the future of their own chips. This seems like it's still probably the course forward. It feels like 2020 is totally reasonable to me. What do you guys think?
I think this year has only added more fuel to the fire. Mm-hmm. Like, it feels like things Apple's missed on, plus things Apple seem to be working towards, all only further indicate that this is a very strong possibility that this will happen.
I think WWDC 2019 should be able to give us a hint if this is actually happening or not, like depending on the scale of the Project Marzipan or Project Sneak Peek, whatever it's called, depending on how extensive that is, I think we'll have a pretty good indication that they're actually moving forward with this idea. The only thing that is kind of strange to me is the fact that a Mac Pro is coming out in 2019 and it's not going to be ARM based. So it'd be kind of, I don't know, it'd be kind of weird to have such a major release.
But that's probably always going to be the last product, though, in the transition, right?
It was last time.
I guess so. Maybe it'll come out in 2019 and the ARM version will be ready in 2023 or something.
I think, too, people who are going to buy the Mac Pro may be more comfortable staying on Intel longer. Yeah. I think that was definitely true in the PowerPC to Intel transition, that a lot of people probably hung on to PowerPCs. Maybe pros were more apt to do that, especially if they had, PowerPC specific things. And so I agree with you, Federico. It's a little weird, but I think in the grand scheme of things, that'll shake out okay, that the Mac Pro will be the last new Intel Mac. And I think the more I think about this, the Mac Pro has been delayed. Again, is it now a 2019 product? I wonder if part of that is building an Intel Mac, but building the infrastructure for that machine in a way that they could move it to ARM without like totally redoing it all. So
that it doesn't require a brand new
Mac Pro again. For the third time.
Because didn't the cheese grater, didn't that go from PowerPC to Intel, same design?
It did. And how they did it was the case stayed the same, but they totally redid all the guts. And maybe they're doing a Mac Pro with ARM in mind. I think that's a reasonable thing to expect. So it's definitely something to look for. I agree with you guys. 2019 just pointed me in this direction more and more. Or 2018 did, and I'm sure 2019 will as well. We also had a huge iPhone release. The Product Red iPhone 8 came out, and I gotta say, like, the iPhone XR uses the same design. It looks so good.
Yeah. This was confusing, though, right? At the time. It was like, oh, iPhone 8 is the one you're doing? Okay. Right, because it was like, shouldn't it have been the iPhone 10?
Yeah.
Like, it was a little bit confusing at the time. Still continues to be confusing. I don't really know why they did it. But now, at least, I guess we can probably assume there will not be a Project Red iPhone 10 because of the 10R, right? There probably won't be one.
I don't think so. I feel like they're happy to have just one of them. I don't see the 10S showing up in red this spring. We also have a proposal from Apple in April for accessibility-focused emoji. This included several items, an ear with a hearing aid, a service dog, person in a wheelchair, person with a cane, lots of emoji options to sort of round things out. I absolutely loved this story when it came out. I love it now, and it's going to be really great when these start showing up.
Yeah, that's 2019, by the way, is because this was a proposal. This wasn't Apple saying, like, we're debuting these emoji. Like, they had to propose them to the Unicode committee. So
Jeremy has to approve them first.
Yeah, I mean, so this, for Apple, though, this might be early 2020. Like, it depends on when they're going to release it, right? Because, like, if you think, like, Apple don't release the new emoji with the iOS. The like 0 iOS release, so it could be late 2019, early 2020. It just depends, really. But they're great. You would expect they would get these ones in as quickly as possible, considering they do already have the designs done. Right? They did the designs. This was all in the blog post. But yeah, it's great. Yeah,
it's really awesome. Mm-hmm. We also had big news that would have rocked 2007, Stephen. SmugMug bought...
The Smug Bug. Hello there. I've bought your Flickr.
SmugMug bought Flickr. It is not part of Oath/Verizon Media Group, as it was renamed last week.
What is Verizon Media? Oh, my God.
This is the new thing, man.
Yeah, so
they have just a big capital Y as their logo, which doesn't make any sense.
Oath was a company owned by Verizon. Oath was made up of Yahoo properties and AOL properties taped together by Tim Armstrong. He left. Whoever was running Oath previously left. Now Verizon has a new CEO, and he came in and said, "Why do we have all these dying media companies? We should just build out 5G." And so Oath is being renamed Verizon Media Group, which is the most boring company name in the history of the planet. And they very unfortunately are downsizing a lot of people, including like friends of ours at other websites, which is a real bummer. But I am glad Flickr was sort of scooped out of this. SmugMug seems to be a pretty well-run company. I think it's a family company, which is pretty cool.
It is a family company. I remember I know this because we said it last time. That's how I found that out.
Just like Relay is a family company. And it's not really true. But Flickr did make some waves at the end of 2018 saying that if you had over 1,000 photos on your free account, they were going to start, like, photos above 1,000 were going to be removed unless you paid, which was not awesome. Some people really were upset about that. I mean, the truth is Flickr is over. You know, its glory days were 10 years ago, and it's sad. You know, I have an account there. I was a pro member for a really long time. I let it lapse years ago. It's kind of on my to-do list just to... I have some pictures that I reference in blog posts. I need to move those, and then I'm going to be done. It's just time to go.
It's time in the sun is over.
Yeah. Well, smug bugs don't like the sun. They work in darkness.
I only work in the darkness.
It's very smug about it.
Voice?
It's the smug bug.
It's the smug bug.
It's very
That's
smug
what he sounds like.
about his status.
Hello. I'm killing your photos. They're mine now. This episode is brought to you by PDFpen, the ultimate tool for editing PDFs from our friends at Smile. Using PDFpen, you can say goodbye to filing and go completely paperless to scanning and OCR. You can mark up and highlight PDFs to your heart's content. You can search and redact sensitive information, such as account numbers or stuff you don't want to be shared. You can even correct text in PDFs without needing the originals. That's wildness. Absolute wildness. I love PDFpen. I use it on all my platforms. I love that on the Mac version. It has these like ruler guides now. So if you like hover around a document, it puts these little red lines in. And when you click, it keeps things like in line with the text. It's really very, very clever stuff. I love it. I use PDF Pen on my iPhone. I used it today to sign a contract. It is contract signing season for me at the end of the year. And I could not get through this without PDF Pen. It is such an important tool in my tool set. I use it every single day. As well as the regular PDF Pen on the Mac, they have PDF Pen Pro, which has even more features like creating an editing table of contents, converting websites into PDF, and so much more. And if you are a lover of dark mode, PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro support dark mode on Mojave, plus smoother scrolling, faster thumbnail drawing, and an increased maximum zoom. Basically, if you deal with PDFs at all, you need PDF Pen. Learn more about PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro at smilesoftware.com/podcast. That's smilesoftware.com/podcast. Our thanks to PDF Pen for their support of this show and all of Relay FM.
May marked the biggest story of the year. The iMac G3 celebrated its 20th anniversary.
See, this is where you put in the crickets.
That's not nice.
I have one memory of this, which was you and Jason working together to write an article in Austin at my bachelor party.
That's true. We were in the hotel, and Jason texted me and said, "Hey, come pro blog with me," and so we blogged together. It's a lot of fun.
We really know, us nerds really know how to do bachelor parties.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Blogging, podcasting, all the great stuff.
May also was yet another chapter in Twitter's slow murder of third-party clients. So when they announced the API changes that now we're living with, that things like favorites and retweets and push notifications are all going to be different now with third-party apps. They initially had said, I think I've read back through these and like I cannot tell what actually happened, but basically Twitter, had a date and everyone freaked out, so they moved the date back to August and they announced that change.
Yeah, but they didn't change anything. They just changed the date. Nothing changed, just the date.
So that was sort of part one of this. We're going to come back to the story in a later month when it actually got implemented. We also saw a class action lawsuit over the MacBook Pro keyboards. We all remember that, a single crumb would come under a keyboard, and then you'd have to use an iBook G3 during a live podcast recording because your MacBook Pro is useless. Very relatable example. And, class action lawsuit, which I don't cover these. Like, I find them sort of gross to talk about. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't, they feel weird. But, it was just a sort of a line in the sand with these keyboards, which Apple has improved a little bit. The 2018s, actually, my 2018 has been pretty solid, but that old keyboard, the second gen keyboard, is still present on the MacBook and the MacBook Escape. So if you have one of those, don't eat a sandwich near it, I guess. Or if you do, you can join this class action lawsuit.
A couple of weeks ago that one of the keys on her 2017 MacBook Pro has started to fail. So she's gonna join the class action lawsuit. I don't know. No, but we're gonna go to the Apple store soon, I think.
We also had, Federico, your Second Life article, which is like a game I remember from like 2005. I guess you finally checked it out.
Yes, that was a story about the game Second Life, and
don't give Stephen the cred. He only knows this because of The Office.
That is 100% true.
Yep, you see, I know where you get your references. I just saw that episode like 2 days ago.
We're also watching The Office. I mean, I'm watching The Office because Sylvia doesn't like The Office, so I'm watching it by myself. It's a great show. So this was a good article, actually, and sort of thank you.
One of your best.
About workouts and using the Apple Watch. Good stuff. I enjoyed writing this one, even though it was kind of heavy in places, but it's one of the articles that I'm actually kind of proud of. So always, it's.
You can choose to ignore this question if you want, and it's perfectly fine. But are you still keeping it up?
It's been a rough period for the month of December. I haven't worked out much. I think we've been and this is personal stuff, but it's fine. We've been busy with taking care of the dogs and a bunch of scheduled things that we had planned. And also, I was busy with the traveling and stuff, but it's I'm buying new equipment for working out because my old indoor bike is starting to fall apart. So I'm gonna be jumping back into my old schedule and routine as soon as I'm done with all these things for the holidays. Because one of the things that I was not expecting is that I'm when I do not exercise and when I don't do my workouts, I miss that feeling. And it's something that, especially in the past 2 weeks, as we've been busy with Ginger, one of our dogs, and the site, Mac Stories, has just been crazy. And I haven't been able to work out. But I actually crave that feeling again. Like I need to work out and I need to do all of these things again, which I guess it's a good sign. So yeah. Looking back at this article, it's funny because it sort of serves as inspiration for myself, which is a weird thing to say, but it's one of the articles that I'm really happy and that I wrote. It's up there with in my personal favorites with the I Made You a Mixtape story from 2 years ago. It's one of the articles that I constantly look up to. So thank you for including this in the roundup. I'm glad that people liked it.
And that brings us to June, which is the biggest month of Apple news. We have WWDC. Lots of W's in there. We had our first live show in San Jose, which was a lot of fun. Federico taught us about Susan Hammer, which was critical to the coverage we had to do that day.
That's all you need to know.
Was it tennis or something?
Yeah, she was really into Susan Hammer, former mayor of San Jose. She was really into tennis, and also she was a mayor in the 90s when MC Hammer was popular, I guess, and kids would stop Susan Hammer in the street yelling, "It's Hammer time," which was just an incredible story.
It got me again.
Just imagine.
It's just it's not like mean bullying, right? Like it's not mean, but it's the best kind of like teenager bullying, right? Where like they're saying a thing to you and you can't say anything back to them. It's just like you have no response to that. You have to kind of embrace it. So good, such a good story. I love it.
We thank Susan Hammer for her service to the city of San Jose and for giving her name to the beautiful theater where we had our live show and where, most importantly, where we all won some trophies. I mean, mine was a good trophy. Steven's was a decent trophy. Mike, how was your trophy?
My toilet trophy still sits on my windowsill.
Next year you'll get a better one, Michael.
Well, will I though? The better ones will be available. Will I get one? We'll see.
Depends. I see in the show notes, this is very important, the prompt briefly returned in the month of June.
It did.
For a very complex round robin that I had completely removed from memory. It was like
Steven destroyed the tradition of the round robin in our special episode.
It was a special episode. We had like the logo and the music, I think, and the follow-up sounds. I miss the sound effects.
Yeah. Timer quality. Yeah. I'm just gonna. Yeah. Hey, timer quality. You know.
But it was a very complex round robin that we never attempted ever again. So it was very confusing, Steven.
Well, I think it's only never been attempted again because me and you revolted so badly.
Yes, it was. How was it supposed to work again? Yeah. Like round robin, but then flipped in reverse? It was super confusing.
No, every time, it wasn't that hard. Every new round, the next person started. It's the only fair way to do it. Or otherwise, someone would always be last. And no one wants to be last.
No.
All right. Month of July. So,
hang on. We're just skipping over all the actual news from WWDC. I just want to be clear about that we're just moving on.
I mean, what's the point in going over it, right? Like, we all know what happened. Like,
okay. I'm fine with that.
My feeling is, like, WWDC and the September event, like, there's not really much point in covering those.
But
like,
I mean, special shout out though to ARKit 2, which
and our artwork being
that wasn't
in
the document. We should definitely take a moment to talk about that. I think about that moment a lot. It is my Twitter banner. What an incredible thing. Not just one of the best things of the year, one of the best things that has ever happened to me. Because I never would have believed that we could have been in that position. Like, I have like this fracture on my wall, not a sponsor of this episode, but it's a true thing, of Tim Cook standing in front of an Apple Watch with the Connected logo on it. Like, what an incredible thing to have happened. Just wonderful.
Yeah, I think about the moment a lot too. When I was in the audience and I actually saw the logo, like I couldn't believe that I was seeing the Connected logo, and Casey brought me back to reality. It was incredible. So that was very cool.
And I guess in true, just like, of course it would happen to us. Not one of us was in the same place as one of the other one of us during that moment. Because I guess that just feels like the way we would do things, right? When they're just never together.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because I didn't make it out to San Jose until the day of the live show, and you were there, and Federico was in the room. If you haven't seen this picture, it's the artwork for this episode. So just go look in your podcast player.
Moment of the year.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, WWDC, iOS 12, ARKit 2, which is the only true announcement of the show, and all the demos for ARKit 2. Yeah, we should move on to July, which was a good month for you, Michael, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Personally
yeah, it was
speaking.
Fun. It was fun to go through these stories and be like, I don't remember that. Oh, it's because I wasn't on the episode.
Yeah.
I did listen to them, but I didn't remember talking about this stuff because I was off for basically the whole month, which was great. Thank you both for covering for me. And it did result in another very connected thing where our 200th episode was just Steven.
So, for context, Michael got married in the month of July, and I remember this because at Mac Stories, we were doing a 10th anniversary series of articles and podcasts for the App Store that turned 10 on July 10, July 8 or something. And as we were working on this stuff and publishing articles and episodes of App Stories every day, Michael was getting married. So I think my article launched on the day that of Mike's wedding, which was fun. But it was like this huge effort that we had worked on for like a couple of months, me and John. But it was fun to look back at the history of the App Store. Like some old apps and old games that I heard the names for a long time. I personally did a story about App Store preservation, and sort of the future of like what happens when an app or a game disappears from the App Store. And that article had like a bunch of quotes from the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Arts, which was very cool to be able to ask them questions. It was like this huge effort for the month of July, and I was exhausted after that. But it didn't matter because I needed to start working on my iOS 12 review in July. So that was fun.
Yeah, my story for that was 10 years of the App Store changes, and it was like hands down the hardest thing I wrote this year. It was so difficult to I had to find devices. You can't install old versions of iOS very easily. It's like finding an iPod Touch, running iOS 3, and and the App Store barely works anymore. It's like this stuff is all just disappearing out from under us, and I'm glad we were able to capture it in that article. I'm really proud of that column, but it was really backbreaking.
Yeah, it was very good.
What else do we have here? We have Mac Mini refresh rumors beginning. We also have, with that, larger display Apple Watches. Again, two things that Ming-Chi Kuo effectively right on. Months in advance, minus the low cost notebook thing. So I remember at the time, the only thing being strange about the Mac Mini rumor to me is that was right after WWDC that it was rumored. And sometimes July is kind of a quiet time for Apple news because people are just sort of heads down working on stuff out of the conference. But here we are with rumors already. We also had Instapaper splitting away from Pinterest, which we mentioned because we all three have been Instapaper users in the past. I still am. I still use it every day. And it's something that an app that I care about, made by people who know what they're doing, a nice team running it. And I think it's fair to say that under Pinterest, it didn't necessarily get the attention some of us wanted, and now it's sort of they were basically broken in the EU for a long time. But it seems like they've got that stuff behind them, and they're pushing out nice updates again. And I'm optimistic about Instapaper's future. I really am.
Yeah, I don't use it, not for any particular reason. I don't really read articles in this way, but I hope that it still exists because it feels like one of those applications which has been around for such a long time that I would love to see it continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got a long history. I mean, it was in the App Store really early on. We also had new MacBook Pros, spec bumped, the revised keyboard we talked about, but there was an issue with the firmware. They were basically like heavily throttling, and Apple had a software fix for that, and everything was kind of okay again. It's such a weird story. It's so strange that this shipped this way.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Oh, the next item is not fun at all. I remember this. Okay, so month of August.
We're into August, yes.
Yes, which is a very important month because I turned 30. Just,
Happy
the more
birthday.
you know. Thank you. It's kind of late, but I'll take it.
I always wait for the year in review episode to wish you a happy birthday.
Sure. Apple kills officially this time the app affiliate program. So Apple used to run through a platform called Performance Horizon Group, or PHG, an affiliate program for apps where people could earn commissions on sales for apps and games and in-app purchases and that kind of stuff. There were rumors that Apple was going to discontinue this program the previous year in 2017, but then Apple sort of said no, the announcement was wrong. That was a very weird story. But eventually, in August 2018, they confirmed that yes, they were ending the affiliate program for apps in November, I think, or October, on October 1st. So that essentially. The consequences of that announcement, I think, are still being felt and through the Apple community. Luckily, Mac Stories and other websites, we moved away from affiliate linking as our primary source of income years ago when Apple started lowering their commissions and just not paying much attention to the program. And also with the transition to freemium apps and free downloads, those commissions were going down anyway. So Mac Stories and other websites, I think we moved away from that model years ago and were fine. But other publications, I remember Touch Arcade, for example, being impacted by this announcement, and also apps and utilities and other services surrounding the affiliate program where had to be discontinued. For example, the Blink app by a friend John, which I still use because it's an excellent way to search the App Store and copy a link to an app and read its release notes. It was discontinued and it never came out on the Mac. John actually had a Mac app ready to go the next day, but Apple announced the end of the affiliate program, and the day before, John decided to never release the Mac version. Yeah, that was a very unfortunate series of announcements. I'm sad that this has happened. For example, I don't know if you noticed, but this year we didn't do Thanksgiving, like Black Friday roundup for app discounts on Mac Stories, just because it doesn't make sense to do it anymore. There's no money to be made there. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen to Mac Stories Deals, which is the Twitter account that we used to run for app discounts, because that just becomes a cost because it doesn't make any money directly anymore. So I don't know, but it's sad that Apple did this, and it's fully in the right to end this program, but it's still sad for indie websites, smaller publications, and other services that make money off the program. So that was sad. But in better news, besides my birthday, Relay FM also had a birthday in August. Relay FM turned 4, so happy birthday, Mike and Steven. You are
Thank
4.
You. All the great birthdays.
Yes. And you host. You had a special Q&A episode of Connected. That was a very good one. And I think I was not on it because I was on vacation at the beach.
Yep.
So
it just all worked out perfectly. It gave us a place to do our Q&A. Because you were on the beach.
Yeah.
It's topping up your tan.
It's hard to believe it's been 4 years. Now 4.5.
5 years next year. So next up, third-party Twitter apps had to remove their features because of the API changes that we spoke about earlier. So this saw Tweetbot and Twitterrific remove a bunch of notification features, and one of the big kind of things that ended up being removed was stats and activity stuff. was taken away. This killed Apple Watch apps as well. I miss the ability to see the stats and stuff very easily, but that's about it for me. I mean, this is kind of what I said at the time because I just wasn't using the other types of features. The only other thing really is like tweets are a bit slower, but in times when I want real-time tweets, like if I'm watching like some kind of event or something and want to see tweets in real time, I just move over to the regular app. Like, it's fine. But it's a shame.
Yeah, those features are still there. You can go to the web as well if you need to, but it's just not in these third-party apps. I kind of feel how you feel. Like it's a bummer, but it hasn't really changed my relationship with my Twitter client. I still use Tweetbot, and it's a little frustrating at times, but it hasn't been that big of a deal. We also have this month, again, returning to iPhone rumors, that 3D Touch would be removed from all 2019 iPhones. We still don't know if this is going to be true or not. We know that the iPhone XR lacks 3D Touch, and they are replacing it with haptic touch. In fact, the most recent iOS update included more places where haptic touch works, which is basically just a long press that then the thing just kicks you and says, hey, I did it. I would be okay with it as long as they bring to haptic touch peek and pop. I do use that frequently, and I believe that the haptic touch stuff doesn't support that yet, and I think they would need to add that for me to be okay with giving up the rest of it.
I agree with you. Like, I think they've got quite a bit of there's a little way for me that they would need to go. I think peek and pop seems like it would be a difficult thing for them to do because, like, so I played around with the haptic touch on Notification Center. It does not work the same. You have to on the XR. The notification pops up when you let go. It's very peculiar. So like you press down and let go, and it pops up. So it still doesn't even work the same as the iPad. So it's kind of peculiar, and I don't really get it. It seems like there's still some work to do on it, to be honest. All right, that rounds out August. So we've just got a few more months left of the year. And there really isn't much that we're going to talk about for the end of the year because it's just happened. But there's still some stuff. September and October are big months. But before we tell you all about those, let me take a moment to thank our final sponsor for this episode, and that is Kane 11, the company who make ridiculously comfortable socks in precisely your size. The socks that you're wearing right now, I'm sure that they are a one-size-fits-all or a one-size-fits-like a group of sizes type thing, but we don't have the same size feet, and that is why the folks over at Kane 11 thought that since we wear our socks every day, it's time to change that. Kane 11's merino wool socks offer a precise fit. Their name, Kane 11, comes from the fact that there are 11 available sizes from 7 through to 17, and you will be amazed when you feel the difference of socks that actually fit your shoe size. They are high quality and they will hold up wash after wash. I mentioned that they're made of merino wool. This means that it's going to keep your feet warm in the winter and cool in the summer. It's magic. It's truly magic stuff. And Kane 11 socks are available in smart, confident styles to suit your look. Stephen, could you tell me about your Kane 11 socks, please? I want to know how comfortable your feet are.
They're great. I am one of those people that the all size fits all, I kind of fall in between. So I have socks that are either like too big or too small, and then like you try to stretch it. It's always been a problem. And Kane 11, you go and you can order exactly the size you are, and their website gives you some advice that if you're like a 10 and a half, maybe you should do this instead of that. It's really great. So they showed up and they fit perfectly. It's really awesome. So I've actually ordered some additional ones. They're going to be here after Christmas, and I'm excited to transition out of my all size fits all except Steven into a world where my socks fit perfectly.
All purchases come with the Kane 11 promise. If for any reason you don't love your socks, just send them back for an exchange or a return, no questions asked. Kane 11 socks make the perfect gift for the person who has everything in their life because they definitely don't have these. This is something that doesn't exist anywhere else. And once you wear Kane 11 socks, you'll never go back to that one size fits all again, just like Steven, or the one size fits all but Steven size that he was having before. To get your own Kane 11 socks, go to kane11.com/connected and enter the promo code connected, and you'll get 20% off your order. That's Kane11, KANE11.com/connected, promo code connected for 20% off your first order. Our thanks to Kane 11 for their support of this show and Relay FM.
September, the month of new iPhones and new Apple Watches, and off the bat, we have product names and images
Oh, that was
both.
fun.
This was such a wild day.
This story and going through it reminded me of the year prior, right, where we had the HomePod leak, which gave away a bunch of information. This was like that. 9to5Mac were sniffing around on some URLs, and they found product photography of 2 sizes of iPhone and the larger screened Apple Watch, the Apple Watch Series 4.
Yeah.
With the wild, like, what is this this Apple Watch screen? There's so much information, right? This is ugly. Ah!
The best part of this article is the image caption that says, not a mock-up.
Just so you know, not a mock-up. And then also within 24 hours, there was a lot of talk about what the new iPhone names would be. iPhone XS Max was the name, to which many people, including yours truly, believed could not possibly be the name of the larger phone.
Yeah. Again,
it was.
People were losing their minds. And I thought it was very strange. The only argument that I sort of bought into was the idea that Plus sounded kind of like it had something more, but Max just sounded like it was bigger. And that kind of turned out to be true because the XS and the XS Max are the same phone, but one is bigger. So I guess the change to the Max name kind of made sense. It still sounds very strange to call it basically the way that people call it, the iPhone XS Max. They don't say XS, they say XS, or in Italy they say XS. So
XS
iPhone XS Max. So that's not a good couple of words to say together. But yeah, I guess it whatever works for Apple works for us. September event, 10R, XS, XS Max, Apple Watch Mojave, which is still not sure how to pronounce. Is it Mojave? Is it Mojave? Nobody knows. An iOS 12.
Mojave.
Mojave.
Is it the smug bug voice again?
The smug bug. The smug bug knows how to pronounce product names. He's very smug about them too.
Yeah, it's because he knows them and you don't.
Yeah.
He's very smug about it.
He would never call it the iPhone XS. I'm just saying.
No, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
He's too smug.
Yeah, he would never.
There were more anniversaries. 10 years of Steven's website. Because it's not 10 years of 512 pixels, right? It's like 10 years of Steven's website. Is that right? Yeah, it's got to be right.
It had a name change a couple years into its life.
But it's the same thing, right? Like same site, but just a different name. 10 years.
It is continuous.
It is continuous. Yep. All of the links still work, is my understanding. And Club Mac Stories, the Club Mac Stories, which is the Mac Stories membership newsletter that Federico has been writing, saw its 3rd year. It did strike me that you two chose, I mean, I don't know if 10 years ago it was the same, but like just interesting times of the year, like a very busy time of the year to launch such big projects.
Not the case 10 years ago.
No, I can imagine that, actually.
Yeah.
The iPhone was a WWDC product. Kind of like the new phones announced in the summer. It wasn't until the 4S till it was the fall. So I just started in September because that's when I left the Apple store and I could blog. So there wasn't anything to it. It was just how fast can I stand up a WordPress site? But yeah, a decade. It really, I mean, I go through the archives. We're talking about just a year on this show. We've forgotten things. There are things in my archives I come across sometime that like I don't remember writing. I don't remember, it's just so much stuff, but it's one of those things like I will always have this site no matter what else happens. It's just a part of me at this point.
Yeah. Mine was just a stupid decision to launch in September 3 years ago. But I did it for one specific reason, which was, and in hindsight, I'm actually pretty happy about it because it worked out well, that I wanted to launch and immediately have an integration between the club and my iOS 10 review. So the idea was I launched this thing and there's immediately going to be benefits for members and there's going to be the exposure of the iOS review that is going to drive people to the club. And that worked. So now I'm stuck sort of with this September combination of events in September, but every time I try to make the best out of that situation by having those kinds of extras, like special things, be exclusive for Club Mac Stories members.
We also had, of course, your iOS 12 review.
Mm-hmm. And audiobook narrated by a British person.
The smug mug.
Yeah.
The smug bug.
Oh
Smug
my
bug.
God.
Oh, so I've forgotten how the smug bug sounds, though, which is a shame. I've forgotten how the voice went.
It was like 3 seconds ago.
Hello there. I've bought your flicker. He's gone forever now. It's just me. Yep, I did that. You did that. It's a big thing every year. It's much bigger for Federico than it is for me, but it's a big job.
Yeah. Why is there an AirPower link in here in September? Oh yeah, the manual. Yeah. So Apple is people discovered that Apple was referencing AirPower in the instructional manual of the iPhone XS, and some people, I remember this on Twitter, some people thought that it was fake. There was like a bad Photoshop, but no, Apple does reference the wireless AirPower charger in the little instruction booklet that it's inside the iPhone XS package.
Yep.
So that's awkward, but
I mostly included this just to note that all year we've been wondering where this product is, right? Like it hasn't made an appearance in our list, like our countdown so far. All year it's a meme at this point, AirPower.
Well, September 2 was a year since they announced it, because they announced it with the iPhone 10. It's like, it is. I mean, at this point, we're recording this in December. My thought is it's just dead, and if it shows up, it'll be a nice surprise. But I'm telling you what, I'm not putting it as my risky pick for 2019.
No way.
No part of that.
No way. October brought about maybe one of the best episodes of Connected, which was when Federico attempted to name all of iOS 12.1's emoji without ever having seen the name.
And I won.
Did you? Did you?
I think I did pretty well, but it was not a contest.
I think we all won.
Yeah. It marked the very important debut of Weird Fish in our connected back catalog of references. I would have said Cell, but also I could see some kind of weird fish being like this. You know?
What in the world? What kind of fish?
Are you thinking of like a puffer fish?
Is this weird fish the name?
What are you going with here?
Weird fish.
You really are gonna go weird fish?
I don't know what else to choose. It's I don't know, either weird fish or cell.
It is a microbe.
What is a microbe? So that was a very fun episode to do. I guess, I don't know, we'll probably do it again in the future. We'll see. Depends on the new emoji. Maybe it should become a tradition. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think it should. I guess we will have at some point. We will have all of the accessibility ones we talked about earlier, but there'll be some strange ones too to pick. I'm sure of it. We also saw the release of the Google Pixel 3 and with Google's press event in New York, which was kind of a strange event in ways, but I think there's no arguing the Pixel 3 is an excellent phone. Mike, you've got one, and you seem to have enjoyed your time with it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm never going to talk about this phone. Right? Like, I just feel like at this point, I don't even know what I have to say. I really like it. It's a great phone, and the camera's incredible. Like, that's my review of the Pixel 3. I think it's great. It's very nice. I like it. I got the small one. It's pink and it's nice to hold, and it is a good Android phone, and it does some cool stuff, and the camera's amazing. That's my Pixel 3 review.
I'm glad we've been waiting for that. It's good. We also saw Apple invited Adobe to show off Photoshop for the iPad in Apple's press event, where they also announced Max.
But it was shown off before. So Adobe
was
showed
it?
off.
Oh, it was like a week before, right?
I think it was a little bit before. It was Adobe Max. So they which is Adobe's conference, is where they unveiled it. Having previously acknowledged that it would happen, which they did, they showed off what it was going to look like, and then they joined Apple on stage for the iPad Pro presentation to give a condensed demo. So due next year, but still pretty monumental news, and I'm very excited for it.
We had our live show in New York with Federico's cousin, who was very gracious and taking time off.
That was incredible. Like, I had no idea. Unfortunately, I couldn't join you guys in New York, but it was such an incredible thing for my cousin to do. Like, I was not expecting it at all.
Big moment.
He's a very busy guy. He runs a very important business. He sells vinyls in America. So I know he's very busy with his company. Vinylcast. So it was very gracious of him to fill in for me. So it's a very good episode, and Marcus makes some really good points. Mm-hmm. So you should also check out his company, Vinylcast.
It's a snappy dresser.
Yeah.
It
was. Ming-Chi Kuo makes a return in October, saying there will be
he never left. He's always he's always here.
He's here with me right now.
I'm back, boys. Here's an iPad Mini.
Yeah. Saying that, iPad Mini 5, late 2018 or early 2019. So this is still within the realm of possibility. I think this is a product that if they don't do anything in 2019, then it should just go away. Like the 6th generation iPad being cheaper than this thing, being better than this thing in every single way, except that the Mini has a laminated display and the 6th generation iPad does not. Other than that, the iPad Mini just outgunned and is more expensive and just feels like a relic. And I'd like to see them do it. I think there's probably still a market for it, but I can understand if it goes away.
And then, of course, we had the October event, which brought about the MacBook Air, the Mac Mini, and the iPad Pro, which 2 out of 3 of everyone's been really happy with. MacBook Air has had a bit of a tumultuous life so far, I think, including Stephen being upset about the storage last week. So
you gotta get the 1.5 terabyte version, man.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait to do it.
It's that
so expensive.
It's that 0.5 that really seals the deal.
We spent basically the entire month of November debating the iPad.
Well, some people did.
We did.
I mean,
I looked at the show notes. We did.
No, I mean, like some people get really upset about it, and I don't think we do. Like, in the sense that, there's these blog posts and these videos. Can you get real work done on the iPad? And I feel like we're sort of we handle that conversation in a different way, because we know that it's possible to get work done on an iPad, but we also know its limitations. And I think other blogs and other YouTubers, they make more sort of dramatic announcements and like claims that they go viral for like a week or so, and then that's just my opinion though. But yes, we did discuss the iPad Pro. I started the iPad Diaries series about the new iPad Pro. I started spending a lot of money on USB-C accessories and keyboards. It was a very productive month. I got a lot of writing done. The episodes were good. We had some fun discussions. I'm curious to see what the situation is going to be like in 6 months, because this iPad discussion, this is a point that I made on Connected in the past. Every few months, this entire thing sparkles up again, and people start arguing about the iPad for work. I bet it's going to surface again sometime in February or March. Like, somebody's going to complain with a tweet or with a blog post, and the whole cycle is going to spin up again. And the iPad Pro discussion will begin anew. So we'll see when it happens. I bet it's gonna be. It usually happens every 3 to 4 months. So I think we're only like 2 to 3 months away from the cycle.
Is that gonna be in your 2019 predictions? Predicting when people will start talking about the iPad Pro again?
That's a point for sure. Like, it would be unfair. It would be unfair. Nothing else of note, I think, happened in November. We were just getting work done.
Yeah, it was a lot of conversation. Like, it was a lot of conversation, and talking about the merits of the product, defending the product where we felt it needed to be, and then, as you say, like, talking about some of the things that you were doing, some of the apps that you were excited about, some of the dongles and stuff, and but there was news, but news that mostly hasn't changed, so isn't really worth looking back on. And then December, I think the biggest story in December, at least in the Apple community, I think, is Apple Music arriving on the Amazon Echo, because it's wild. It's just a wild story. It was crazy when it was announced, and it got even crazier when it was released. It has been very interesting, and I am really keen. Like, I just saw someone sent me a screenshot of an email that Apple sent them, talking about how to set it up and all the things, like giving prompts about what you should say. Like, just goes on and on. Just won't stop. And also in December, we all bought Mac Minis.
Yay.
Which is something we would never have put in our predictions. We're all going to buy Mac Minis this year.
It's true. We're 3 for 3.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can tell you that writing more about Mac stuff is something that I want to do in 2019, which is something that I haven't done.
Uh-oh. He's putting the Mac back in Mac Stories.
Well, John is writing about the Mac on Mac Stories most of the time. I guess I'm going to...
You personally.
I personally will write about Mac automation. Like, I haven't written about this stuff for actually 5 years. So should be fun. It's one of my goals for the next year. But we'll talk about that in our first episode of 2019. Because this is a very important final point that I personally put in the document. The episode is over. And just like the year is over. I would say overall, do we give a thumbs up to Apple in 2018? I think yes. I mean, I would have liked to see better improvements to iOS for iPad. That's my only negative note, honestly. Like, the iPad hardware is now so much more ahead of the software. It's kind of ridiculous to look at that sort of that contrast between the two. But overall, the devices are great. The XS Max and the Series 4 are great. Just that the iPad software could have been a nice thing to have. But so one more thing to look forward for 2019.
If you want to find links to all the stuff we talked about, head on over to relay.fm/connected/224. While you're there, you can get in touch with us via email, or you can find us other places online. You can find Mike on Twitter at IMYKE. Mike is the host of a lot of shows here at Relay FM. You can find Federico at VITICCI on Twitter, and you can find him, of course, at macstories.net, writing about Automator and the Terminal and Activity Monitor, all that good nerdy Mac stuff. You can find me on Twitter as ISMH, and I write 512pixels.net. A quick programming note, our next episode will be out on January 9th. We are taking the week of New Year's off. We hope that you have a wonderful holiday with friends and family. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Pingdom, Smile, and Kane 11. And until next year, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci e buon anno.
Cheerio and Happy New Year.
Adios. What's Happy New Year?
Feliz
Año Nuevo.
Hey, we'll go with that one.